Hello, I'm Nathan P. Butler, author of a Saga on home video and host from the Star Wars Home Video Library here on YouTube, and this is Star Wars Home Video Year by Year. This time we take a look at 1989. And there's really not a lot to talk about, but one of them is a little bit weird and will cause frustration for collectors and viewers for years to come. So we'll start with the one that's not funky, and that is that we do finally see, in 1989, a release from Star Wars to Jedi, The Making of a Saga from CBS Fox Video. The previous one had been through Playhouse Video, just like Classic Creatures Return of the Jedi. Now, on VHS, we have this CBS Fox one. This is the one that's a little bit odd in the sense that it was the one that was around when we finally do get a boxed set in 1990 of the original trilogy. So it's being advertised alongside those, but we eventually see the 1992 set, the year that there is a new version of this, still often advertised with this version as well, rather than the newer version that coincided with those releases. So this is probably, if not the most common look to from Star Wars to Jedi, The Making of a Saga, it is certainly one of two most common looks for this particular special here. So from Star Wars to Jedi, The Making of a Saga, it is back. And then the other thing is great news, yet bad news. In recent years, as we have seen, Japan had already gotten Star Wars releases in widescreen format, letterbox widescreen format, for that special collection. CAV discs, great presentations of the original trilogy, sort of benchmarks in many respects for LaserDisc. The US hadn't got any widescreen releases yet, but here in 1989, we finally start to see them. And it's kind of a flawed presentation. This is where our widescreen versions of the US actually starts, with a special widescreen edition of A New Hope here through CBS Fox Video in 1989. These are discs pressed by Pioneer. Okay, that is going to make a difference. There are 3 different companies who will be handling the actual production of the discs, and one set of discs will be great. The others will have a continuous flaw for the A New Hope ones. That series, the special widescreen edition, continued with the release of The Empire Strikes Back, but it's a nice package. It's not time compressed, which is great, finally, in the United States to not have time compression on A New Hope. We really had only seen no time compression on standard play. We got that kind of folding package with the jacket here. 2 discs. Nice. But wait, 2 discs? Yeah, unfortunately, this is CLV discs, not CAV, extended play rather than standard play, so not quite as high-end as the special collection coming out of Japan. And you may recall that the masters I mentioned for the Japanese copies of their widescreen initial version, that special collection, they had Japanese subtitles built in. Again, letterbox is basically still a 4:3 image for old 4:3 televisions. Except the way they handle a widescreen image is they put it across essentially the middle of the screen with black bars on top and bottom so that it's still one 4:3 image, and the black bars are part of the image. It's not being added automatically by a player or something. They are built into the screen. That's why if you play it on a widescreen television today, which is pretty much any television today, you have your image, bars on top and bottom, and bars on the left and right to make up for that extra width, unless your player can do zooming. We talked about this previously. Now, my understanding is that these are actually based on those Japanese Special Collection masters, meaning that they had to do something to get rid of the Japanese subtitles just burned in, so to speak, into the image. And that meant redoing the letterboxing, essentially, right? So you have your image, black bar on top, black bar on bottom. Let's just redo that so that it works for Americans, so that we can either cover up or otherwise get rid of those Japanese subtitles. But in doing so, somebody screwed up somewhere. And what winds up happening is as you go through the film, you notice that the image keeps getting shorter and shorter and shorter. Even though the width is still the same, something is screwed up with the way they set up the letterboxing with the black bars, because they start covering more and more of the existing picture. So that as you watch, the film becomes narrower. This is sometimes referred to incorrectly as the Incredible Shrinking Aspect Ratio edition. Except the aspect ratio isn't shrinking, it's growing, because that is the ratio between, the width and the height. And as it gets smaller height-wise and stays the same width-wise, the aspect ratio is actually getting larger and larger numerically. It's more like the Incredible Shrinking Height edition or something, but it's a flawed release in that respect. You're getting the full width of the film, but weirdly, over time, you're getting less and less of the actual height of what is meant to be in the shot for the film. And this will persist from Pioneer to Mitsubishi when they take over producing the discs. It won't be fixed until the Technodisc version a few years later. So on the one hand, hey, awesome, we finally get to watch A New Hope in widescreen in the United States. That is a big deal. Not as good as what we saw out of Japan, but still, this is a big deal, even if it is flawed. But it'll take a while for those flaws to be ironed out. Now, if you'd like to see a demonstration of the way the screen just narrows and narrows and narrows as you are watching the film on this flawed version from 1989, check out From the Star Wars Home Video Library, episode number 400. For that special 400th episode, I actually took the time to play this on a television screen, aim the camera at it, and mark the changes in the aspect ratio, the changes in the height of the image with basically Post-its on a TV screen, so you can actually watch as it shrinks along the way, and there's a comparison between it and the versions that came later. I usually would only mention the From the Star Wars Home Video Library episodes about a particular release in the show notes, the description of the video here, in case anyone wants to jump over to them. But this is kind of a special case where this shrinking aspect ratio thing, which is actually an increasing aspect ratio thing, is really something that needs to be seen to be understood, and I went into great detail with it and From the Star Wars Home Video Library number 400. Link is in the description, along with all the other stuff we cover, as always, for the video here. So a noteworthy year, but not a big year. It'll be a bigger year when we come back next time and take a look at 1990.